I'm back with another stream. So I meant to talk about this last night because the Sweet 16 for NCAA March Madness for men's basketball came last night and Thursday for the Sweet 16. I meant to talk about this, but I never got a chance to because I was so busy with other stuff, and I did a live stream covering some previous topics. So yeah, what an crazy March Madness has been going on. Um, so far, man. And yeah, it's been a battle tested. So I'll start first with Alabama and BYU. I'm gonna start first with Alabama and BYU. So Alabama won convincingly over BYU, 113-88. They outscored BYU in the first and second half. They was just completely dominant on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, uh, on the side of the ball. The leading scorer for BYU, Richie Saunders, he had 25, 6, and 2. Keba Keta had 13 and 6 in 29 minutes. Edgar Denman, he had 15, 2, and 7. And Travis Cannell, um, they both were, the leading scorer guards for them, for BYU. But for Alabama, the leading scorer was Mark Sears. 30 minutes, he had 34 points, 3 and 8, 3 rebounds, 8 assists. Chris Youngblood, he had 19 and 3. Aiden Holloway, he had 23, 2 and 3. And Clifford Amoriururi, he had 10, 6, and 2. So those were the leading scorers for Alabama. And stat line pretty much shows Alabama was shot better from the field, from the three, and from the free throw line. They out rebounded BYU by one, and they had more assists, more blocks. Um, they forced a lot of turnovers. They had a lot of turnovers. They committed a lot of fouls. But really, the story of the game was just Alabama's just ability to get in transition, ability to score and shoot perimeter jumpers, and had an ability on the offensive side. They would just had a hot night, shooting from the field. They were just absolutely hot that night, and BYU just couldn't keep up. Their transition game, while I saw them playing against Wisconsin, they was able to get out in the first half, but in this game, against Alabama, it was just completely a different ball game. They just could not overall handle the speed, the durability from, Chris Youngblood, Mark Sears. Those guys pretty much, did their thing last night. Absolutely just tearing BYU's inside presence game up, and they just couldn't handle it from beginning to end. And that just pretty much did it for them. Um, and Alabama's moving on to the Elite Eight, and they're going to be facing off against Duke, I presume, I believe. And they are facing off. And speaking of Duke, they won against Arizona by the score of 193. It was a very close game throughout. Duke had a lot of trouble coming from them from Arizona. Caleb Love, he had 35, 4, and 1. And Jaden Bradley had 15, 2, and 5. And Henry Vessier, he had 13 and 6. And of course for Duke, Cooper Flag, Capel, they were the leading scorers. Flag, he had 36 and 7. Capel, he had 24 and 3. And Sion James, he had 16, 3, and 4. Duke was absolutely phenomenal from the three, from the field, and from the free throw line. They went to the free throw line more times than Arizona did. Had more rebounds, had more assists, more blocks. They had slightly more turnovers, but the one thing that they did was they committed less fouls in the first half, but in the second half, Arizona, how they was able to come back and cut the lead, cut the deficit to 5, and Duke had went back up by 7. That was just because of what happened with Sion James, and then of course what was going on with Flag, Cooper Flag. They was pretty much the difference in the game, which pretty much held their end of the bargain, held it up in. So they're gonna be facing off against each other in the Elite Eight. Man, I cannot wait to see that matchup. Them against Alabama, that's gonna be something special right there. Um, Now let's go to the ones believe in Indianapolis. But let's start off with Purdue versus number one seed Houston. So Houston, by the thick of their skin, won against Purdue by the score 62-60. I mean, the story for the Boilermakers, Fletcher Lawyer and Trey Kaufman Wren. Those guys from last year was able with Zach Edey was along to put themselves over the top. Um, and it was able to get to the championship against UConn, but they were just too much for them. Fletcher Lawyer had 16-2-1 in 33 minutes, and Trey Kaufman Wren, he had 14-5-2. And Braden Smith, he had seven, three rebounds and 15 assists. Wow, he was his passing ability was very much deadly last night. And for Houston, Milo's Urizan, he had 22, 3, and 6. Emmanuel Sharp, he had 17, 2, and 1. Jawan Roberts, he had 5 points, 12 rebounds, and 3 assists in 37 minutes. Javier Francis, he had 8 and 5. Pretty much was it right there. The game was more of a defensive showmanship right there, defensive battle. And then it came down to the wire. You saw pretty much Purdue gave it all they got after they was in the first half, pretty much was having their way in the first half, and then Houston just started to climb back and creep back. And then once they creep back, it was pretty much over with, man. Houston, when they came back in the second half and they took the lead, it was pretty much over with. Purdue just couldn't handle it, and couldn't handle it enough. And to me, the story was just Houston's defensive abilities haven't making enough stops, forcing Purdue to get out their game because their game is more inside and their game is more, back. Especially Trey Kaufman Wren, he likes to get back to the basket, but when they get open shots, get open looks from the three, they like to kick it out. I'm looking in the comments. Somebody was saying, "Who are you picking to win the chip in the NBA?" Well, to answer that question, to me, it comes down to this. A lot of people are going to expect the Celtics to get back there, and they have a strong possibility too. Don't get me wrong. They have the best odds because they won the championship last year, and they were just dominant last year with Drew Holiday, Derek White. Role players was able to step up, and Porzingis coming back. So they have a shot of making it all the way to the back to the finals and repeat. So we'll see about them. And then of course in the Western Conference, more than likely, I could probably see a different team getting in there. OKC has the best chances because their defensive pedigree is just unbelievable. They have, to me, one of the best defenses in the league. So with Chet Holmgren adding Harkenstein in the off season, so we'll see how that goes about with them. But those would be the two teams that I would say could possibly meet there and get back there. But we'll see how it goes. In the Western Conference, you can never count anybody out. I mean, like the Golden State Warriors can give a lot of people problems, and they're very slept on and very underrated. And also, the Clippers get healthy too with Kawhi and James Harden back there, as well as that bench with Terrence Mann and Coffee and Nicholas Batum. Like you never can count out the Clippers that can give people some problems. I don't think the Lakers is going to get there. Their defense is horrible in transition. As you saw, the last couple of games they played against the Bulls, they've been absolutely horrendous defensively. So we'll see. I probably seeing the way things are going. OKC and the Celtics could possibly meet there, and I could probably see. I could probably maybe see the Celtics winning that because I think the only issue that I would have with OKC was his experience, and the Celtics have been there, done that since they were like 17, 18 years old. So I could possibly see that happening. So back to what I was saying with Purdue and Houston. I just think that Houston had enough firepower and enough ability and durability to withstand uh, the blows that Purdue was throwing them in the first half. So that was the difference to me was Milo's and of course Emmanuel Sharp for Houston. That was the difference, and just the ability to get to the line. That was just a big help and able to put them over the top. So yeah, and I believe they're moving on as well. And Kentucky and Tennessee. Let's get to them. So Tennessee was just absolutely destroyed Kentucky. But early on in the season, you know, um, Kentucky beat them twice, and it was just not a chance of them beating them three times. I could not see that happening. Um, now that I look about it, now that I think about it, even though I did pick Kentucky to get there, to get to the Final Four, for some reason, the matchup facing up against Tennessee, it's like they they to me have a they had the most difficult odds of getting back there to the Final Four and get advancing, even get to the Elite Eight. They had the most difficult odds, even though some was picking them to win it, but just had the most difficult odds because they do have the size. But Tennessee was able to do more things, and I'll talk about that too. So, Otea away, he had 13-4-1. Amari Williams, he had 14-4-3. And Lamont Butler, he had 18-6-3. And Andrew Carr, he had 9-1. For Tennessee, Zakai Ziegler, he had 18-10. Um, Chaz Lanier, he had 17-4-1. Felix Acopra, he had 8-11. And Jamai Mashak, he had 4 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. And Jordan Gainey was a huge addition off the bench. He had 16 points, 3 rebounds, and one assist. Tennessee was just able to get a scoring ability from a numerous amount of guys, and that was just able to put them away. Was able to put their guys away. So yeah, that was pretty much what they did. Um, they shot 50% from the field. Their 3-point shooting was absolutely atrocious. Um, and they went to the free throw line more times and they out rebounded Kentucky. That was pretty much the size of Tennessee was the difference. They was just out rebounding them, crashing the boards, crashing the glass, getting into the inside, putting guys on their back to me, and that pretty much did their thing. Had more assists, ability to block alter shots from Kentucky. Had more steals, less turnovers, less fouls committed. Tennessee was just all over it. They were just all over it last night, and they just had everything going their way from the field. Um, if they want to get better, they got to improve their 3-point shooting, and they got to improve their perimeter shooting. If they want to, go and make a run for it. But yeah, if they have a shot, they have a possibility. So I would not count them out if I was team. So to me, don't sleep on Tennessee because they're gonna be a team that's gonna ride their momentum and ride the wave all the way up into going into the championship round. So don't sleep on them. I mean, as they advance to the Elite Eight. And let's get to Ole Miss versus Michigan State. Michigan State won 73-70. Ole Miss outscored them in the first half, but Michigan State just was able to put them away and was able to get a 6 point lead, and then Ole Miss cut the lead, but then the story was just Michigan State down the stretch. So Cohen Carr, he had 15 and 3. Jesse Richardson, he had 20 and 6. Jaden Atkins, he had 13, 4 and 3. Trey Holloman, he had 10, 1 and 3 in 27 minutes. And for Ole Miss, Malik Dia, he had 11-4. Matthew Murrow, he had 13-4-1. And Sean Padula, he had 24-3-4. And Michigan State shot way better from the field. They shot, they shot similarly from the 3-point line. Um, they went to the free throw line more. And although Ole Miss had more rebounds, and they both kind of were like similar in assists, more blocks, uh, Michigan State in the second half pretty much did their thing. It was the difference between putting the game away and down the stretch was able to find buckets from Jace Richardson and Jaden Atkins. The guard play was just different, and their ability to just run the clock down and slow the clock down and lower the minute, get the crowd into it, let them go and let them feel themselves. That was just the difference between what they was doing in Ole Miss. Because Ole Miss to me just they kind of was just under par. In the first, in the first half they was all right, but once the second half came around, like I feel like Michigan State just finally realized and found the youth and realized who they really are. So Auburn and Michigan, last of the Sweet 16. So Auburn beat Michigan and just tore them up 78-65. Auburn outscored Michigan in the first and second half. Daniel Wolf had 26-1. Flash Scott Logan had 10-9. And Namari Burnett, he had 10-7-2. Johnny Broom, he had 22 and 16 boards. Denver Jones had 24-2. And of course, Mr. Tahad Pettiford, he had 20-3. He was just all over the place last game against Creighton, and then against Michigan. He just continues on all season long and all season in the tournament. He just continues to just light it up as he goes on. So you cannot stop him at all. If you can't get it, contain him or keep him out of the perimeter and out of perimeter area, and his ability to get to the free throw line, you're just not going to be able to get it done against them, man. Auburn just has the ability to just turn it on and turn on the switch whenever they want to. Auburn had shot both teams were very sloppy as far as in the first half from the field. So that's what kind of the percentage wise from both teams just looks very mundane. The free throw, the 3-point line percentage and the amount of 3-pointers that was given by both of them doesn't look as keen and doesn't look as sharp because they shot so many and they just did not make a whole lot of them. And plus, in the first half, both defense was on point, but I feel like in the second half, Auburn just kicked it into a new gear. They had more rebounds. Their size was just too much for the Wolverines. They had more assists, similar amount of blocks. Auburn committed less turnovers and they had more turnovers than finished in transition. So that pretty much what did the difference within. And Tashad Pettiford was pretty much a big deal. Denver Jones was also key in the game as well. Also an X factor in the game as well. So that pretty much was the difference there. And they are moving on to the Sweet 16. So the Elite Eight. My fault. These guys are moving on to the Elite Eight. So let me look at the Elite Eight schedule. So um, today we're gonna have Texas Tech and Florida. And Alabama versus Duke today. Um, Texas Tech is coming at 6:09 p.m. Standard Time, Eastern Standard Time, and Alabama and Duke is coming right after at 8:49 p.m. Standard Time. Oh, and I forgot to recap as well the Texas Tech and Arkansas game in the Sweet 16. So um, Texas Tech was able to beat Arkansas by the score 85-83. Arkansas beat St. John's, the number 2 seed. Was the most shocking upset of that in the tournament. They went into overtime, and Texas Tech was able to pull it away. Uh, Carter Knox had 20 and 6. Trevon Brazile had 11 and 5. Janelle Davis was the leading scorer in 39 minutes with 36 and 1. DeJon Wagner, he had 13, 3 and 4. Texas Tech, Darion Williams had 29 and 3. JT Toppin had 20, a double double with 20 and 10. Christian Anderson had 22 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists in 44 minutes. Played a lot. And Kevin Overton had 12 and 7. Both teams shot the same from the field. They went to Arkansas went to the free throw line more than Texas Tech, but still wasn't enough because um, Texas Tech just had the ball, had the last possession. Arkansas had the last possession, and Texas Tech was able to get a key stop, and they were able to get key stops in the second half, which when it counted. But then overall, once it went into overtime, they just was able to prove it and get it done. So that's my recap for that. So also for Sunday's Elite Eight tournament schedule, you got Tennessee versus Houston, and you also got Michigan State, number 2 Michigan State versus number 1 Auburn. Tennessee and Houston comes tomorrow at 2:20 p.m. And after that, Michigan State and Auburn comes at 5:05 Eastern time. So those are the schedules for those Elite Eight tournament games, and the winners of all 8 of those go to the Final Four. So my picks for the Elite Eight, if I didn't get to that mention already, I got Florida over Texas Tech. I got Duke over Alabama. I got Tennessee over Houston. And I got Auburn over Michigan State. Now, it can go either way with Texas Tech and Florida because I'm just not a big fan of what Florida. I'm not a big fan of their offensive game. I don't really think that their game is like predicated on putting teams away like they really should, and they lead teams' ability to draw a comeback. I got Duke over Alabama, obviously. I got Duke winning it all. I got Tennessee over Houston. I got Auburn over Michigan State. And that's just where I stand with that. So tell me what you guys think about those picks, and tell me what your guys' picks down in the comment section. So that's just my recap of the elite of the Sweet 16 and then the Elite 8 picks. I want to go to another story that I just saw. And I wanted to talk about this because I never got a chance to talk about this. So Anthony Mackie's comments about the success rate for the youth, the next generation. He says, we're lying to our kids when we say success comes just from hard work. Luck is key too. And Grand Marshal Anthony Mackie walks during the NCAA Cup series to the Daytona 500. A lot of parents tell their children that they can achieve anything if they work hard and apply themselves, but that doesn't account for luck, which is a huge factor that many high successful people have said that they have owned in their careers too. Points out Anthony Mackie, star of the 2025 movie Captain America: Brave New World. We're lying to our kids, Mackie, 46, said in a recent interview with the Pivot podcast. We tell them that they have to do right and they have to make good grades, and they go to the programs, they will become successful. But if you work hard enough, your work will pay off. And that's not true. In many cases, success is given, not earned, Anthony Mackie continued. Mackie has been a huge actor for over 10 years, landing a role that many consider his big break as Sam Wilson in 2014's Captain America: Winter Soldier, he said. And after graduating from prestigious Juilliard High School in 2001, he performed in both on and off Broadway productions and Academy Award winning films like 2008's The Hurt Locker. However, the New Orleans natives struggled to break out in Hollywood's highly competitive landscape. Mackie estimates he put in 10,750 hours of training before landing that life changing job. He was proactive too. He wrote letters to executives at Disney Marvel Studios over a decade ago in hopes of landing a role in the studio's popular superhero films, he told Hollywood Reporter in 2023. While the letters didn't result in any roles right away, Mackie eventually landed a beginning with directors Anthony Russo and Joe Russo. They offered him a part in an up-and-coming film, but couldn't share many details, they said. We can't say what character you're playing or who else is going to be in it. Would you do it, Mackie? Uh, uh, Mackie said. The actor agreed because he liked the directors and believed in joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe was an opportunity he couldn't pass up, he said. Fortunately for Mackie, the role of Sam Wilson proved popular enough to grow from a small character into a headliner. Work matters, but so do luck and timing. Mackie is far from the only successful person to recognize the power of luck. The smartest and most deserving person in the room. The billionaire and Berkshire Hathaway chairman Charlie Munger told students at the University of Michigan Ross School of Business in 2018, there's no guarantees. There's also a factor of luck that comes into this thing. He added, I did not intend to get rich. I wanted to get independent. I just overshot. Similarly, in 2023, Mark Cuban told GQ that billionaire who stays who says that they could definitely start from scratch is lying their A off. And that's because a person also needs luck and good timing to run a highly lucrative company, particularly in the fast moving tech industry. If he had been born 3 years earlier, likely he wouldn't have the status that he has today. Cuban added, but simply being in the right place at the right time and having connections can be as important as having skills and experience. How to benefit from luck? People who benefit from luck most have a few traits in common, according to Richard Wiseman, of the luck factor and psychology professor at University of Hertfordshire. Number one, they're optimistic, find themselves in the bleak circumstances. Luckily, people recognize the things that could have been far worse. Number two, they always jump at new opportunities. Luckily, people display an openness and adaptability that pulls them in situations to network and make new connections, according to Wiseman. Number three, listen to their intuition. Too much time spent pandering that could lead indecision, he added. Writing that lucky people tend to make quick decisions by trusting their gut. They're more likely to take action and expose themselves to new opportunities. Number four, they recover quickly from setbacks. Allows lucky people to remain positive when things don't go how they hope and increases the likelihood of them continuing to live a lucky life, according to Wiseman. So that's just the stuff that I read and the stuff that I read about previously from Anthony Mackie's comments. What are my thoughts about this? So to some degree, I believe he has a point, and he makes really good points about the whole luck and timing part and how hard work, matters in a sense where you work hard, you put the effort into your craft, your ability to achieve greatness, to achieve your goals, to achieve your destiny, to go for your destiny. But my thing is, don't waste those opportunities when they're given to you. And to me, I feel like certain people have wasted time, wasted opportunities, and wasted achieving something because they don't want to go for it. Yeah, it may be some bumps and maybe some forks in the road along the way. You may make a few mistakes along the way, but understand that some things will always come to you when it's earned and when it's given. And so to me, I feel that we as a people, as a community, we have got to stop always looking for handouts, looking for things that, you know, should be given to us. We gotta earn, we gotta work, we gotta spend time, we gotta and all this whole thing I've been hearing as well about how when guys who are in their early 30s, and I'm hearing this thing about micro retirement, retiring at an early age. You gotta put the 10 years in order for you to get those good paying jobs, in order for you to get that pension. But then also, if you're in the industry, entertainment world, yeah, some things you gotta listen to folks in Hollywood too and for, but you got to understand that this opportunity in this business is make it or break it, leave it or take it, now or never. You gotta just earn. You're keeping it, earn. You're giving. Um, and I feel like there's been a lot of misconceptions as well in dialect and conversations around the campfire, around like uh, hard work can lead you to this, can lead you to that. Also, it's also having the right amount of connections. It's also having the right connections and the right amount of connections too. You know, and to achieving your goals, achieving your dreams, and achieving that destiny. You can't spend your life, not doing anything, not putting forth the effort into owning a business, doing entrepreneurship, um, starting your own and achieving your own goals and achieving your own destiny. So to me, in my opinion, it's what Anthony Mackie said. It comes out to me like he's kind of bitter about what's going on with the low box office numbers for Captain America: Brave New World, the bad word of mouth, and he's not really sounding as enthusiastic and as excited about pushing the movie further. And because of the low numbers and the low sales, and that just means it was supposed to make at least around 700 million to consider itself a success, and it hasn't even come close to it. It's a such just because they don't like his role of being the as a black man playing Captain America. So I think it comes off as a little bit of bitter, as a bit of self indulgence, and I feel like he's trying to save a little bit of face, but at the same time, I feel like he's trying to come off with the most honest and direct and in and not indirect shots as he possibly can. So those are just the things that I got to say about that. So I feel like he is right to a certain degree, but then I feel like this comes a long ways when it comes to the whole Captain America: Brave New World box office numbers not coming and not being as successful of a movie because of the direction or because of his take on the character and because of the way it was written in the storyline. So yeah, those are just my thoughts about that. So tell me what you guys think. And the last news story of the day that I want to talk about is the top vaccine official resigns over RFK Jr.'s misinformation and lies. Senior health official in the U.S. who has been seen as a guardrail against any future politicization of the Food and Drug Administration's approval of life-saving vaccines has resigned abruptly, citing the Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s misinformation and lies. Dr. Peter Marks served as the FDA's top vaccine official. He had been lauded by Donald Trump during the U.S. president's first term and for his role in Operation Warp Speed, and they initiated that developed, manufactured, and helped distribute the COVID-19 vaccines. Multiple media outlets, including Wall Street Journal and New York Times, citing people familiar with the matter, reported late on Friday that Marks had been given a choice to resign or have been fired by Health and Human Services Department official. He chose to resign. The FDA is a federal agency within HHS. In a resignation letter referring to Kennedy, Marks wrote, "It was become clear that the truth and transparency is not desired by the secretary, but rather he wishes subservient confirmation of his misinformation and lies." Marks issued a stark warning, according to media outlets who obtained the letter, saying undermine confidence in well-established vaccines that have met the high standards for quality, safety, and effectiveness that have been in place for decades at FDA is irresponsible, detrimental to public health, and a clear danger to our nation's health, safety, and security. The departure allows Kennedy has turned into a noted vaccine skeptic. David Gear, who lead the HHS in a study of potential links between vaccines and autism. Any links between autism and vaccines have been debunked. Kennedy has claimed that he is not anti-vaccine, but for years he's led the movement to sow doubts their safety and effectiveness. In 2021, a group then led by Kennedy called for an emergency approval of COVID-19 vaccines to be revoked, saying the current risk of serious adverse events or deaths outweigh the benefits. Study later showed that the claim was inaccurate. A study by the Commonwealth found the COVID-19 vaccine saved 3.2 million American lives and prevented more than 18 million hospitalizations through November of 2022. And during the confirmation process, Kennedy has ultimately secured the votes in all Republican senators, including Dr. Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, promising that he would not change the FDA system for approving vaccines, but the system overseen by Marks, who has been with the FDA since 2012 and oversaw the division's approval of vaccines, biotech, and blood products. Wall Street Journal reported a statement on resignation by HAS official Peter Marks does not want to get behind restoring science to its golden standard and promoting radical transparency, then he has no place at the FDA under the strong leadership of Secretary Kennedy. Mark's departure comes a day after the Trump administration said that he was laying off 10,000 employees at HHS. His comments about the move posted on YouTube, Kennedy suggested that his office was facing opposition inside the department from defiant bureaucrats who stopped his office of gaining success to closely guarded databases that might reveal the dangers of certain drugs and medical interventions. So my thing is with this, my thing is with this, it's not really surprising at all about RFK Jr. constantly in his latest attempts to spread misinformation about the vaccine, spread misinformation about how they not saving lives and all that stuff. And he says now he wants to sit up here and say he's not anti-vaccine, but you cause an official of what your misinformation was about it. You cause a high-ranking official in the FDA to resign because of your incompetence and because of your inherently disinformation that exposes you and exposes your team as you're not as wise as you probably would think that you are. And he's gotten stuff wrong about incrementalism, imperialism, and foreign exchange wars. He got stuff wrong on that front before. He was wrong about not only he was wrong about Israel and Palestinian war, and doesn't really understand the historical textures and factors of that, it seems like he's just constantly getting worse and worse. You know, from not only from when he was when he was going against Republicans and the Democratic Party and in the Biden administration, he's getting worse under the Trump administration as we speak. And to me, it just shows you the absolute blatant hypocrisy from him. And people are starting to see it. The politicians are starting to see it. The FDA, the higher ranking officials are starting to see it. Everybody's starting to see how much RFK Jr. is full of it. And more than not, he's going to continue to get to go down and get exposed for who he really, what he truly, and what he truly values, and who he really is, and what he truly values at the end of the day. So yeah, those are my thoughts um, about this whole situation. So thank you guys for watching. Um, been on here for quite a while, so tell me what you guys think down in the comment section, and yeah, that's just how I feel and overall. So tell me what you guys think, and tell me what you guys think overall, and let me know what you think about these stories down in the comment section. Your recap of March Madness and everything. Who you guys got in March Madness? What you think about Anthony Mackie's comments in regards to telling the kids about hard work, how it does not pay off, and it's not always true. Um, and this whole vaccine official and RK Jr. misinformation story. So yeah, tell me what you guys think about all three of these stories, and see you in the next video. All right.